LeBron James gets reflective about his career after the game in Cleveland, but we're really no closer to understanding what the future holds. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes on weekends and even on holidays, Andy. No matter how or where you get your podcasts, you might be an Apple guy. You could be a Spotify guy. You could be one of the 37,000 plus subscribers to the Locked On Lakers YouTube channel. No matter how you're doing it, you're part of making the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in this or any other known universe. I'm Brian Kamenetsky with Andy Kamenetsky, nearly 20 years covering the Lakers with ESPN, with The Athletic, with the LA Times. 20 years, which is still not as long as LeBron James has been playing. He was extremely reflective in his return to Cleveland, which we will get to in a moment. He spoke a lot about his career, but didn't necessarily bring a lot of clarity of in terms of what the future holds for him or the Lakers. So we'll touch on that in a moment, but do want to mention the game itself, and it was an ugly one for the Lakers in a lot of different ways. 129-99 is the final score. LeBron himself played poorly. It was not a good game for LeBron.
Yeah. I mean, to set the stage, LeBron had a lot of company in this game among teammates. It's not like everyone else brought it and LeBron was the one guy who just didn't have his head in the game. I do think, and we'll talk about it, I think this was emotionally a difficult game for LeBron to play in ways that I think he did not expect for it to be this way. But it was a poor game for LeBron. It was a poor game for a lot of guys. It was on pretty much all facets, just a lousy night for the Lakers.
11 points on 3 of 10 shooting for LeBron. He had more turnovers, 6 than assists, 5. Luka Dončić, who did his level best to keep the Lakers in this game, finished with 29 points, 12 of 20 from the floor. But he hurt his ankle, Andy, because he fell off the court. And that might sound strange, but at Rocket Arena in Cleveland, there's a step down from the floor to like the ground where the people sit. This is very unusual in NBA circles. I think it's the only arena that has that. Players get hurt on it, probably seems like once a year. They complain about it all the time, and yet here we are. So Luka played through the pain, but he went to the locker room, came back, played through the pain. We'll see, though, whether or not he is able to play. It would be Friday in Washington, so that is something to watch. And Austin Reeves, Andy, didn't play. I know we've been all kind of waiting for that debut. It's going to have to come either in Washington, Brooklyn, or New York.
Yeah, hopefully Luka is able to play. The fact that he was able to get back into this game and actually play reasonably well. He said reasonably well in the sense of dealing with that sort of pain. He played well. I just mean, he said afterwards it bothered him. Like he could feel it. Yep. It was something that he had to play through. There were times where you wondered, is he fighting something as he's dealing with this? But hopefully he will be able to suit up. Again, Luka was, I would say, the bright spot of this game, other than maybe Gabe Vincent showing proof of life. But
it always makes me sad, Andy. Gabe Vincent hit 4 of 6 shots from the floor, 3 of his 5 3-pointers. He had an assist. He had 3 rebounds. He had 11 points. It always makes me sort of sad when the Lakers waste this, sort of the Gabe Vincent performance where they get something out of him and you still lose by 30. Because they don't come around very often.
Well, we'll just make sure next April when it happens that everyone's on their P's and Q's and they
honestly
make sure.
The guy who had the second most talked about game of anyone really was Bronny in his 8 minutes of garbage time, which, by the way, gives you an idea of what this game looks like, because 8 minutes is a lot of garbage time. Bronny had the crowd going nuts. He hit all 3 of his shots. He had a breakaway dunk. He had 2 3-pointers. He had a steal. Overall, it was of all the people who Cleveland fans, of all the Jameses that the fans got to watch, Bronny had a better night.
I mean, look,
Dad.
It was a homecoming for Bronny too, and I'm not being facetious or sarcastic. Like the Cavaliers actually, they put up a photo, like a welcome back Bronny, and it was, I believe, Bronny as a kid, like acknowledging Bronny practically grew up in this arena.
Yeah.
It's similar concept to you and I when we were first covering this team. We used to see Natalia and Gigi outside the locker room after games, and like they were little kids. Chris Paul, like little Chris, and that era of the Clippers, it was a running joke in NBA circles that the locker room basically doubled as daycare because all the kids would be in there, and some of these are kids that you now see as adults or maybe playing college basketball themselves, things like that. But Bronny definitely had the homecoming that he hoped for. LeBron did not. The Lakers did not. I talked about how it was a failure on all facets. They
were up by 10. It's worth noting they were up by 10 early. Like for a little while, it looked like, okay, this might be another one of these games, but they lost control of the game before halftime, and then by the third quarter, ooh.
Yeah, I mean, they gave up 14 offensive rebounds in this game, and offensive rebounds were the thing that was really keeping Cleveland in the game.
Yep.
Despite the Lakers outplaying them early, they gave up 17 second chance points off those 14 offensive rebounds. They gave up 60 points in the paint. They turned the ball over 16 times. Cleveland turned it into 23 points, and Cleveland ended up shooting from behind the arc 39%, which is good, but not necessarily incredible until you take into account in the first quarter, Cleveland shot 27% rounding up, which really gives you an indication that after the first quarter, in particular, in the second half, they were just scorching from behind the arc. So again, just in every facet imaginable, the Lakers were just completely outplayed and outclassed. It's self-evident when you lose by 30, but just laying down the details of how they lost this game, more or less all of them.
It was funny. JJ was clearly unhappy after the game. And I get why. The Lakers didn't play well. They did okay at the beginning, but like once Cleveland required them to kind of kick it into another gear and raise their level a little bit, there wasn't anything there. And so, the studio guys on Spectrum Sportsnet, the Lakers flagship station, they kind of talked about it. They did not have any energy. And this is just one of those games too, where once Cleveland was the Lakers coverages on the 3-point line were bad. This wasn't a matter of like Cleveland just dropping a bunch of bombs in while the Lakers had a hand in the face and on. And then they also couldn't keep them away from the rim either. So none of that worked really well. But I was really struck in this game, Andy, on Wednesday, just at the difference in athleticism. This is another night where it was just hyper obvious. And I'm not just talking about like, Donovan Mitchell or Jared Allen, hoppy guys that are pretty well known, Jalen Tyson's athleticism, Naquan Tomlin, guys you're not even necessarily familiar with.
Tyson's going to be in the most improved player conversation.
Tyson has
really
been
good.
Awesome.
He's been really good for them.
I tried to acquire him in my fantasy league, keeper league, and I couldn't do it. He's been, our guy wouldn't give him up. But he's been great. But like those young, bouncy young players, when you see 3 or 4 of them on another roster, it's just like, ooh.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I had that.
And JJ talked afterwards, that he didn't think, he said that the team got outplayed. He also said he thinks he got outcoached. He specifically cited the third quarter. He said, I should have started subbing in guys earlier when we clearly got off to a really bad start. I should have been trying different things earlier. He also acknowledged too, and I don't think he meant this as an excuse. I think he really was talking about just the context of the game. Luka going out in the first quarter messed with the rotations over the course of the first half, which got the team out of rhythm some. Again, I don't think JJ meant it as an excuse. These guys are pros. You're supposed to be able to adjust to a rotation changing. He was just allowing more context, but nobody, and to JJ's point himself, put their best foot forward again, other than Luka had a good game, and you could say in his own right, Gabe Vincent had a good game. That's pretty much it.
Yep. But I think the big headlines for the Lakers, other than waiting to see what happens to Luka, which will, theoretically we'll get hopefully a little bit of an update on Thursday into Friday, obviously, certainly before Friday's game in Washington. The big talk from this game was, in fact, LeBron and some very reflective comments that he had after the game. We'll dive into it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier to just hand things off and then move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can just meet with a local TurboTax expert in person, or you can connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms. Having been through that, those are a nightmare. And they can work with you to get every deduction. Also, very, very key. It is a huge time saver, and it gives you real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. Like, just respectfully, all y'all people watching this, you're not experts. You don't know what you're doing. Hand it over to TurboTax. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done, unless you're an accountant, I guess. But still, even then, go to TurboTax. You can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. And if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you by last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today.
LeBron, obviously, it's Cleveland, so he's going to have an extended time speaking to the media. He's going to be asked a lot about career stuff and this and that, because, as he made it clear, he doesn't know if he's going to play in Cleveland again. And I realize, Andy, some people look at this and say, oh, it's just theater and this and that. I think he doesn't know. He's 41 years old, and I think the idea that he knows for sure that he's going to be back in that building as a player, no, he doesn't.
Well, let's take it back even further, because before we even start getting into what LeBron said after the game and our thoughts on it, our reaction, things like that, we got to actually start with the game itself and in the game, because in the first break in the action, this happened actually when Luka was going to the locker room. The Cavaliers played a tribute video for LeBron. It included the words "Welcome home." It included a lot of really big highlights from LeBron's career before the game. I guess Cleveland, they do some type of thing where a Cavalier great or somebody who played for the team, someone Cleveland specific, yada, yada, does something with like the Cavalier sword, similar to what USC does, I think, with, the sword in their games, Trojans. And Richard Jefferson was that guy. Richard Jefferson, one of LeBron's teammates. They won together in 2016.
Still really good friends.
Yeah, they're still very good friends. And the tribute video very visibly affected LeBron. Like, he actually was covering his face during this because he was crying. Like, he was wiping his eyes on the bench. He was wiping his eyes on the court. Like, this was not just a real reaction. It was a reaction that I think very clearly LeBron was not expecting. Like, he was not, I think, expecting to feel this way during the game. They've done other tribute videos. He knows it's going to be happening.
But you know what? But he said he doesn't. The reason he was asked about that, like, why this one, like, it's like the 8th tribute video you've gotten. And what he said was, I've was much more present and paying attention to this
Right.
than I typically am. So
Right.
was,
And I think that in and of itself surprised him. I think everything about this, in not the idea that there would be a video, again, this is the 8th one since he's been a Laker, but the idea that he would react to this. I don't think LeBron was completely prepared for it. I think it's very easy and likely accurate to speculate that this video, among other things, and the reaction to it, the emotions, threw LeBron off his game. I imagine it went hand to hand. I actually tweeted out at Cam Brothers, if this was Cleveland proactively trying to recruit LeBron as a free agent this summer, well played. If this was in the short run, Cleveland trying to throw LeBron off so they could win this game, well played. Klay Thompson, his first trip back to Golden State as a member of the Mavericks, they played that tribute video that Klay was bawling during, and he admitted it was hard for him to function during that game. It was difficult. So just this was an emotional game for LeBron in ways that I do not think he really was completely prepared for, expecting, anticipating any of it, and it showed.
Right. And that gets to, I think, the stuff after the game. He was really kind of moved by the idea that his mom was there watching her son and her grandson play at the same time, which is bananas as a side note. But like that, the fact that he was present, I know people are deeply cynical of everything that LeBron does, and there's good cause for that. He was extremely calculated, as people are saying in the chat, as we do this live on YouTube, and all these other things. I get all that, but the fact that he was, I think, genuinely reflective in these moments, and taking the time to be present and all these other things. Like, I think if I had to put money on it right now, I would put money on him playing one more season. But it's not a lock. He's 41 years old. And I think from a Lakers perspective, what obviously makes this relevant is just this notion of like both what he's going to do, what he wants to do, where he could do it, and how good he's going to be. Because I think what we're seeing, LeBron said he's like taking the argument with Father Time personally. He said that after the game, the fight with Father Time. But games like this are going to happen just more frequently. He's put up really good numbers over the last month. He's been very good. But the floor for what LeBron is on some nights is just lower than it used to be. Like, you are going to get 11. What do you have? 11 and 5 with 6 turnovers in this game, 3 of 10 from the floor. Like, you're going to get games like this going forward. So, like, is he comfortable with that? Because there'll be probably more of them when you turn 42 than there were when you're 41. What would the Lakers be willing to pay for that? What is he willing to accept for it, whether it's from the Lakers or someone else? I just think there's a lot of choices that go into this that the people, whether you like LeBron or not, who think this is all just theater, are not fully considering.
Well, I mean, look, for what it is worth to our audience, we have expressed the times where we think it is appropriate to view something LeBron says or does, Rich Paul says or does, with cynicism. Like, we have not been afraid to call out those moments as we see them. So if nothing else, if we are saying we think, because I agree with Brian, this is sincere. This is LeBron being introspective. This is LeBron genuinely not knowing, because what he's going through right now is unknowable on a bunch of different fronts. It's unknowable because there's no template to compare it to. Like,
sure.
You can't actually, you can't truly plan for this in advance. Like, it's impossible to do because there's no roadmap. I don't care how much care LeBron takes of his body, all of that stuff. You cannot know at his age with this type of mileage what exactly is going to happen in a week, much less 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year and change from now. Like
100%.
We've always said, the last few years after the Lakers have been eliminated from the playoffs and LeBron has expressed some uncertainty about whether or not he'll keep playing, there's always been that reaction. Oh, LeBron's trying to change the narrative. People are going to talk about the Lakers being eliminated. They're going to talk about LeBron as if anybody will ever ignore anything involving the Lakers. But we've always said we believe him that he's actually not sure about what to do, because it takes a lot to keep doing this at his age. One of the things I've said a lot is LeBron's still playing at an amazing level for this age, this mileage, all of that stuff. And there are times like LeBron will have a quarter or a half where it's like, God damn, man, he looks pretty close to prime LeBron. But the difference is, and this has been going on for a few years, he does not make it look easy anymore. Like, it does not look easy for LeBron. It looks like work for LeBron, because it is work for LeBron. Whereas in his 30s, like the periods that were being celebrated in this tribute video by the Cavaliers, LeBron would wreck shop and at times barely look like he was sweating. Like, that's how much better he was than anybody else. Forget in the league, like 99.9% of the people who ever played this game. It ain't like that anymore, which means, and there's other factors too that are unknowns that I think LeBron is.
I would say 100%. But there's one other factor here that is, when people say, oh, he does this every year, it's the same theater, he's distracting from a bad game. There's an aspect to this conversation that is genuinely different and has never been the case in any of these moments where you would even consider what's next for LeBron. And we will explain what that thing is next.
All right. Buttons aren't reacting, but Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Rocket Money. Ever feel like your money just disappears every month? It happens fast. Few subscriptions here and
money I'm spending on all these buttons on this website.
Oh, that was money poorly spent. And suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers in your head. Rocket Money helps get you clarity. Track every dollar. Stay in control of your finances. Managing your money shouldn't feel like a second job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you so you can save more, stress less. Rocket Money finds subscriptions you forgot you were paying for and helps you clean them up easily. And seeing your spending on one dashboard makes it easier to understand where your money is going. It even automatically builds budgets based on past spending. So take control of your finances, cancel your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon.
Quick reminder about the Everydayer Club, the NBA trade deadline. It's basically here. We want to give you a free month now of our new Everydayer Club to help you get ready. If you need a group chat to keep up with the chaos, you can join ours. Everydayer Club member gets you every Everydayer Club member.
Don't ever do that again. Ever.
Access to
that is disgusting.
Makes a fun sound though.
No, it doesn't.
It does. It
no
sound.
No.
We'll see what the chat says. It gives you access to a group chat on Discord just for Locked On Lakers fans, plus national chats where you can hang out with fans from across the league. Andy and I will be in there. You'll get to hear and see the voices from our other shows as well. Plus, get ad-free versions of this show if you sign up by the trade deadline on February 5th. And you can use the code DEADLINE. Get your first month free. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more. We were talking about this before, while we were texting back and forth, figure out what we want to talk about. Yes, show doesn't just happen. There's preparation. What makes this different is that LeBron doesn't have a contract next year. Like, you can say, like, oh, I don't know if I want to play. I'm not going to do this or that or whatever. But you're coming off seasons where you finished, in MVP voting. You're 37, you're 36, 37. You're obviously still one of the best players in the league. Okay. But now you're 41. And even if you think you're inclined to keep playing, you don't know where, and you don't know for whom, and you don't really know the demand, because in other years where LeBron was a free agent or controlled his own destiny, every team in the league would give him a max deal if it meant coming. Like, that's just what you did. He was LeBron James. That's not true anymore. There aren't going to be teams that can pay him $50 million or $40 million and be willing to do it. So there's just a tremendous amount of uncertainty around LeBron's future, not just around age, but around contract and team, that we're not used to.
He's not used to it. It's the first time in LeBron's entire career where a team has discovered the exit ramp from him before he's discovered the exit ramp from them. And that doesn't mean necessarily that LeBron won't be on the Lakers next year, although I've said a lot over the course of this season, I'm increasingly convinced it is LeBron's last season with the Lakers, because it feels to me like the relationship has run its course and both sides are over each other. But as I've also said, both sides may come to realize they don't have a better option than each other. But regardless, the Lakers have an off-ramp. His name is Luka Dončić. It's the Luka Dončić Expressway, Luka Dončić Boulevard. And they can exit on Luka Dončić Boulevard. LeBron may follow them, but either way, he does not have an exit ramp. And that has never happened in LeBron's entire career. So he truly can't know what he's going to do next. Like, even, for example, Dave McMenamin wrote a really good piece for ESPN, just chronicling, Dave, in addition to covering the Lakers, now covered LeBron during the second Cleveland stint. Like, he knows.
He's basically been on the LeBron beat for 15 years.
He knows that era really as well as anybody. And this, one of the things in the piece that it was towards the end, and it obviously caught a lot of people's attention because the NBA is a rumors-driven league, but that the Cavaliers would welcome LeBron back with open arms this offseason. And that may be true as an overarching concept, but the Cavaliers, with their own salary structure and CBA issues, and the fact that LeBron he'll be 42 then, he'll be in season 24. You can't, and
almost certainly will only be there for, probably a year,
right?
2 at the very most.
But even then, like, you start getting into the questions of, for example, one of my big sticking points that I talked about a lot heading into this offseason, and frankly took a lot of crap from a lot of our audience, but I believe I was right. And I think a lot of this season has demonstrated why I was right. I said the Lakers cannot give LeBron another 1+1 at this sort of money. It would be malpractice, because you cannot build the roster that you will need this offseason if you are paying LeBron that type of money. Or frankly, you can't even plan with $50-ish million just as a question mark. You can't do that. When you said 1 or 2 years, I don't know if Cleveland would do like a 1+1, that sort of thing. I frankly think they would be insane to do that. But regardless, like, even my point in bringing this up is, even if the Cavaliers are internally kind of excited at the idea of LeBron closing the loop of his career with them, it's a complicated proposition, even if they're excited. So even that team that gets mentioned with LeBron more than any other than the Lakers, they have no idea how this would work out. Nobody knows.
And I bring up the question of, the time that he might play, because if you are a team like Cleveland, let's say LeBron, it's a different deal if he'll say, give me a mid-level. I want to take a mid-level, whatever team I want to play on, a year, 2 max, and I'm done. You don't have to give me 30 million or 35 million or whatever. Give me 6. I'm rich. I like that's a different story. But if he wants, but otherwise, like you're in a situation where do we sacrifice players now that we want to have around maybe for a couple years or not sign certain guys? Like it becomes very tricky to even, like you said, even if you're a team that conceptually likes the idea of having LeBron, depending on what the logistics are. And this is why and LeBron's sensitive to that. This is why when people, LeBron's going to force his way out, he's going to demand. No, he is not, because there's no natural landing spot. And the last thing LeBron
Rich Paul said that. Right. Where's he going to go?
Where's he going to go? Like there's no natural place for him to go. And this is all. But the other thing that happened after this game that I was excited about, because it's validated something I've been saying for a couple of years, is that what really has made this so hard between LeBron and the Lakers is that LeBron has been really good and continuing to play way longer than anybody, including LeBron, expected. And he said as much. If you told me I'd still be playing in 2025, 26 at age 41, when I signed that original contract with the Lakers, if you made me say, would you still be playing? He said, no, I wouldn't still be playing. So he's been surprised by it. I think he's been surprised by it for a couple of years. And I absolutely think the Lakers have been as well. They thought they were going to be done with the sort of LeBron experience 3 years ago, not in a malicious way, but just in you don't expect a guy to keep playing like this until he's 41 years old. And so that has created a level of uncertainty and complexity to this relationship between the Lakers and LeBron that has been beneficial, because hey, he's still really good, but it's hard to what do we do? And the Lakers finally have reached a point, like you say, Andy, where they get to answer that question themselves. And they had to get there.
Well, the thing is, without the Luka trade, they would have never done it proactively.
I don't know what they'd be doing.
I can tell you what they would be doing. They would be giving LeBron contracts in perpetuity till he was 55 years old. That is what I said before, and I'll say again, other than maybe because of the sale of the team, maybe would have offered a certain backstop for Genie, even without Luka being here. Just the idea of somebody else you could put out there, Mark Walter, as the guy making that decision. But right. I still insist to this day, and the piece that Baxter Holmes wrote about the tension, not just within the Buss family, but that's existed for a while between the Lakers, Genie, and LeBron, Clutch, talked about LeBron, that Genie had been reluctant a few years ago. She wasn't wild, according to Baxter's reporting. She wasn't necessarily wild about giving LeBron another contract a few years ago, but was concerned about the PR hit. I remain insistent to this day that had Mark Walter not been there as a backstop, even with Luka here, I think Genie would not have had the stomach not to give LeBron James, one of the biggest stars, forgetting NBA history, like North American global sports history.
Yeah.
I don't think she would have had the stomach to tell him no. I don't.
Yeah. It creates a different kind of dilemma now for Rob in the off season. And, the trade deadline, which is coming next week, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's February 5th.
February 5th. I just can't remember when February 5th is. There's this trade deadline, which we'll get into much more detail, as, there are some extenuating circumstances that really have nothing to do with LeBron. But
Giannis,
it is and just what the Lakers can do at this deadline. But you start getting into the summer and all this, it's going to create a different kind of pressure and a different kind of thing, because it's not just, okay, we're just going to sign our guy and, it's LeBron, and it's like, you're no longer in that sort of trap, so to speak. And I am curious to see how the Lakers handle it. We will try to bring you as many updates as we get on player health, whether Austin Reeves is going to be able to suit up Friday in Washington and make his return, health updates on Luka Dončić, whether or not he'll be able to play on Friday.
Conflicting reports that Dalton Connect wants out.
Well, the one part that isn't conflicting is that the Lakers would like Dalton Connect.
Well, we said that Dalton wants out. We didn't say that the Lakers haven't, that it's conflicted, that they've made up their mind.
Right, that Dalton Connect has asked for a trade. There was, like you say, conflicting reports about that. There are no conflicting reports the Lakers have tried. Just can't.
We've seen evidence of one time.
It's like, Dalton marching into Rob's office. Like, look, this isn't working. I demand you move me. He's like probably on the phone.
Yes.
With other GMs. Like, Dalton, hold on a second.
Way ahead of you, buddy.
I got a list of calls that I'm working on here, man.
Would you like to speak to the GM that I'm talking to?
Right.
Put in a good word for you.
How do you feel about Miami? How do you feel about Indianapolis? What do you think? Yeah, somewhere you want to go?
Put you on speaker, Dalton.
Yeah. Dumbest trade demand of all time,
if it exists.
It's just the most unnecessary trade demand of all time.
Yeah.
Anyway, we will talk about that though for Friday's show as we get closer and closer to the deadline, and we'll see everyone then.